You've done the reading. You know the quantum field. You sat with the meditations. You sat in meditation. You understand, at least intellectually, that pushing harder is not the only way to move something forward. And still, and I mean still, as in right now, as in probably this week, when something needs to get done, when something needs to move, when there's a decision to make or something to launch or a problem to solve, you're back in that gear, head down, figuring it out, not because you forgot about what you know, but because that gear is so deeply grooved, it moves before you even decide to run it. That's what I want to talk about today. Not as a problem to fix, but as a thing to understand. If you're Gen X, responsibility wasn't a concept someone explained to you, it was a daily condition. I'll give you a specific example from my own life where growing up, my parents bust my sister and I out of the neighborhood to go to a school in a predominantly white and Jewish neighborhood. In elementary school, at least there were yellow buses that were routed directly through our neighborhoods, and we went door to door, and that was fine. But then junior high school came, and suddenly we were in a two-car fare zone. The school only gave one transit pass. It was either the bus or the train, and we needed both. So for 3 years of junior high school, every single day started with the same problem. How are we getting there? I know you might be thinking, didn't your parents give you money? I don't even know if I can't think back to what that situation was like, but for sure, both my parents were working and providing for a total of 4 kids. So I can't even imagine. But it wasn't just us. There were other kids that were going through something similar, other Black kids from other areas, whether it's South Jamaica, Queens, or Rochdale, Queens, making their way to Forest Hills and working that same puzzle. You had to figure it out. It wasn't an option. It was the only way we were getting to school and getting home from school. So even at this age, we had to figure out something daily. And that kind of daily, unglamorous, non-negotiable problem solving doesn't stay in junior high school because it becomes this operating system. It's this baseline of assumption that this is how things work. If you want to get things moving, you got to move it. And here's what's specific about our generation. We just didn't inherit the work ethic. We inherited it without a lot of infrastructure that might have softened it. So we were latchkey kids, self-contained, get it done, and regroup later. Also, for me, growing up in New York adds its own particular layer. You know, the city has an edge of competition that's baked into the air. You absorb it, you can't help it. It becomes how you measure yourself and how you measure life. Hell, getting on a train is even competition. So now here we are in this moment, this cultural moment where, let me slow it down for a moment. So here we are in this cultural moment where this entire conversation is happening about co-creation, about quantum consciousness, about manifestation and flow and letting go and allowing. So I know most of us, if we're honest, we understand the concept just fine. It's the understanding is not the gap. I moved through a lot of different rooms in my career from, 13 at check cashing, worked in the film and television industry, makeup, professional and personal development companies. I worked at Sephora. I was a fashion sewing instructor. I've worked at salons. Um, and now art therapy practitioner and mysticism. And what I can see from all of that, looking back at all of it, is that at every single stop, it was a different doorway, but it was the same room. Finding ways to help people, particularly women in my generation, locate themselves underneath all of this accumulated weight of everything we've been carrying, but certainly considering it, as part of our life. Now, I'm not telling you this as, to go through my resume. I'm telling you because there's a pattern I'm describing. The one where you know better and you still run the old code. I've watched it for a long time in myself and in women I've worked with clients who come in self-aware, capable, and still somehow stuck. There is something specific happening with us, and it's worth naming clearly. I want to introduce something I call Don't Take Action. It's a DTA, and I want to be very, very precise about what I mean because it's not what it sounds like. It's not passivity. It's not giving up. It is not even a spiritual bypass. Here's what I've noticed about surrender, like real surrender versus what most of us were given as a model. Now, I have heard this said, and I've said it myself. I'm giving this over to the universe. I'm releasing this to, my higher self. And then there's a part that matters is that nothing actually changes in the doing. We keep working just as hard, head down, the language shifts, but the engine doesn't. And that's not release. That's resignation wearing nicer clothes. And it still runs on the same fuel, the assumption that if you stop managing it, it all falls apart. Real co-creation, the kind that quantum consciousness actually requires, asks something different. It asks you to tolerate the discomfort of not doing when every trained response in your body is pointing to action. Don't take action is the practice of pausing between the impulse of movement and long enough to ask this one question. What is driving this? Not as a philosophy. In the very moment, specifically, what's driving this? Because there are two very different places that action can come from. One feels like it's tight, feels breathless. It has the texture of, I need to handle this now, or something will go wrong. That urgency is familiar and it's produced real things in your life. And it's also exhausting. And over a long enough time, it trains you to need the pressure to move at all. The other feels different. It's more spacious. The clarity comes before movement, not chasing it. There's no edge of emergency to it. Most of us, if we're honest, have been running on urgency so long that spaciousness feels suspicious. It registers as laziness, as not doing enough, as falling behind. That's the retraining. Learning to trust the quality of an impulse rather than the volume of it. Here's a question I want to leave with you. Not to answer right now. When you take action in your life, in your work, in how you show up, do you actually know what's driving it? Not in theory, in the moment, actually. If the honest answer is not always, that is not a character flaw. That's an operating system doing exactly what it was built to do. It's built to keep you safe and it got you here. And it may also be the thing making the next chapter harder than it needs to be. If something in this is landing for you, if you're recognizing the pattern I'm describing, not as a concept, but as something you actually live, I do have conversations with women who are exactly in this place. They're smart, self-aware, spiritually curious, and running a program underneath it all that doesn't match the life they're trying to build. The link is below if you want to connect. No pitch, no formula, just a conversation. Now, you've been carrying this a long time, skillfully, with real results. What I'm asking you to consider, not to do differently tomorrow, just to consider is whether the next chapter wants to be built the same way as the previous chapters. So Gen X Starseeds came in with something specific, a particular combination of hard won, street level pragmatism, and something wider, something that has always known that there's something more happening that's invisible. That combination is rare and it needs to be named now. But you cannot fully access it because you're in this emergency management mode, the mode that got created when we were kids. So don't take action is not giving up. It's stepping into a different kind of authority, one that doesn't require urgency as fuel. If this resonated, I want you to just drop a comment below. I do read my comments. I want to know what's landing for you. And if you've been watching for a while and haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. There's more coming. I also have another video that I want you to watch next. I talk a little bit more about a generation and what's I think is calling us to get into action. All right, so it's right here in the link. And if you're ready for a conversation, a link is also below. So until next time, I look forward to chatting with you. Bye for now.